All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics, and in this video we'll be talking about usury law. Okay, so again, this is usury. All right, so in the last few videos we've been talking about interest rates, okay, as well as credit card firms. Okay, when credit card firms charge interest rates, okay, there is usually an upper limit, okay, when it comes to how much interest rates they can charge. And this upper limit is because of something called usury law in some countries. Okay, this is usury law. Places an upper limit, sort of like your price ceiling. Places a price ceiling or upper limit. Okay, on the interest rates. Okay, we know from macroeconomics that the interest rates may go up based on monetary policies, where the central banks may pump money into the system by buying treasury bills and bonds, as a result of which your interest rates may be reduced, increasing consumption. Okay, however, if the consumption increases to a point of inflation, then the banks may reduce, money supply, and they may increase interest rates, as a result of which you have recession because of the contractionary economy, okay, because the GDP shrinks. All right, so this is how interest rates impacts the economy. Okay, however, when suppliers of money, for example, or financial capital, such as credit card firms and banks, when they decide to bump up interest rates, they not only look at monetary policies, but they also look at the amount of debt that goes uncollected or results into late payments. All right. So just like you have insurance companies that look at crime when it comes to figuring out insurance premiums, they look at accidents, crime, so on and so forth, which impact your insurance premiums on a particular make and model of a vehicle or a car. Okay. Apart from that, you have other companies that look at financial history before lending you money. All right. So, same manner, the same way you have your banks and credit card firms, they look at loan defaults, they look at your um, credit card payments that were never paid or not paid on time. Okay, and based on those factors, they may change the interest rate. So the interest rate curve, the supply curve for interest rates, okay, may either shift to the right or left based on those factors. Okay, if you have a higher amount of debt that goes unpaid, if the credit card company never receives the payment from the individual who borrowed the money, okay, then they may bump up interest rates for everybody to recover the loss. Okay, so for that reason, you have um, a law called usury law in certain countries, in certain states and cities, okay, where there is an upper limit as to how much these credit card firms, banks, or other firms who offer credit cards can raise their interest rates up to. Okay, so an upper limit on the interest rates, just sort of like your price ceiling. Okay, except here we're talking about the ceiling for the interest rates. So if you look at the graph over here, this is your supply and this is your demand. Suppose the interest rate is at equilibrium for the time being. Okay, however, because of um, missed credit card payments, because of late credit card payments, because of um, credit card payments that were never paid, okay, so loan defaults, you have credit card companies who may raise interest rates. And because they raise interest rates, okay, the demand, okay, for interest rates, which is this one over here, so the demand for the loan or financial capital goes down. All right, so this is your supply over here. And let's say this demand over here, this is less than what the credit card companies are supplying. Okay, the financial capital, the demand for financial capital goes down. And to make sure that okay, borrowers are still able to borrow money, okay, and consumers or households are still able to borrow and spend money, and businesses are still able to invest in financial capital, or in this case, able to invest in capital investments rather, such as equipment, land, machinery, so on and so forth. Okay, to make sure that the GDP doesn't take a hit because of personal consumption and capital investment, because of a reduction in personal consumption and capital investment from increased interest rates. Okay, you have these kind of laws over here in certain countries and states. All right, where you have a price ceiling. So this would be a price ceiling, for example, and the governments would make sure that the firms, the credit card firms or other firms who offer credit cards, okay, cannot charge interest rates above this price ceiling. Okay, they would make sure that they would not be able to charge interest rates above the price ceiling. So that way, it doesn't take a hit on the economy. It doesn't reduce the GDP to the extent that they would need to enforce fiscal and monetary policies. All right. So apart from that, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics. Have yourself a great day.